Hello, friends, and welcome back to Scaling Stories. Today, I've got some more highly upvoted posts from Best of Redditor updates for y'all. Like always, I'll be reading you the posts and giving you my opinions, and I'll also be working on building up my Minecraft world at the same time, so I hope you enjoy. Also, I'm currently only in Spotify's creator program, so watching on there would help me out a ton. Thank you so much for your support. Today's first story comes from the Two Hot Takes subreddit. It was posted by oldmaybe4926 on July 10th, 2026, and was titled, "Am I the jerk for telling my boyfriend of 6 months that I feel like his mom instead of his girlfriend?" I, 24 female, had been dating my boyfriend, 26 male, for 6 months. When we first met, I honestly thought I had found someone really special. He was attentive, affectionate, and made me feel wanted. I knew he had some struggles going on in his life, and I wanted to be supportive because that's what you do when you care about someone. But now I'm starting to wonder if I confused being supportive with becoming responsible for him. Over the last few months, I've noticed that I'm carrying almost all of the mental load in our relationship. I'm the one reminding him about appointments, helping him remember important things, reminding him about deadlines, helping him plan things, and walking him through problems that he should be handling himself. If something goes wrong because he forgot, somehow it turns into me not helping enough because I didn't remind him. I didn't realize how exhausting it was until I noticed that I was constantly thinking about his responsibilities while trying to manage my own. The part that hurts the most is that I don't feel like he does the same for me. When I'm overwhelmed, I don't feel like he notices unless I specifically tell him. If I'm having a bad day, I usually end up comforting myself and then still making sure he's okay. I've had moments where I've broken down and just wanted to feel taken care of, but instead, I felt like I had to explain exactly how to support me. I don't expect him to read my mind or solve my problems, but I want to feel like I have a partner who naturally wants to show up for me too. The breaking point happened last week when he missed an important appointment because he forgot about it. He called me extremely upset and immediately said, "You knew about this. Why didn't you remind me?" I told him I understood he was frustrated, but I wasn't going to take responsibility for something that was his responsibility. I said, "I love you, but I'm your girlfriend, not your mom. I can support you, but I can't manage your entire life for you." That sentence apparently set him off. He completely exploded. He told me I was selfish, that I was making him feel like a burden, and that he couldn't believe I would throw everything he's struggling with back in his face. He said, "Wow, so the second I'm not perfect, you decide I'm too much work?" I tried explaining that wasn't what I was saying, but he wouldn't let me finish. He told me, "I thought you were the one person who was actually going to stand by me. I guess I was wrong." Then he said maybe he had misjudged my character because he thought I was more caring than this. That honestly crushed me because I feel like I have been caring. I have shown up for him over and over again. I've listened to him vent, rearranged my own plans to help him, supported him when he's stressed, and tried to make his life easier because I love him. But I'm starting to feel like the more I give, the more he expects, and the less he feels the need to give back. I told him I don't want a relationship where I have to constantly remind another adult to take care of himself. I want someone who chooses to be my teammate, not someone who gets upset when I stop caring things for them. Now he says I made him feel unloved and like I don't accept him for who he is. Some of his friends think I was completely out of line because that's what you do for the person you love. My friends think that it's a huge red flag that, after only 6 months, I already feel drained and that he got angry when I tried to set a boundary. I'm honestly conflicted because I do love him. I don't want him to feel abandoned or like he can't rely on me, but I also don't think loving someone means slowly losing yourself trying to keep their life together. So, am I the jerk for telling my boyfriend I'm not going to be responsible for fixing his life? Scaling Stories Corner. Isn't that statement just wrong? Like his friends are saying quote unquote, that's what you do for the person you love. But I don't see OP's boyfriend doing that for OP. So does he like not love OP? Or does it only apply if it's only towards the boyfriend? And you don't have to answer that because I know the statement's wrong. I'm asking it in like a question. I know it's wrong. I think OP's friends are more reasonable in telling her that this is a huge red flag because it is. This guy is completely dependent on OP to manage his life. And you know who does that normally? Like your mom or your dad, or at least that's what your mom or dad should do when you're a child. I know it doesn't always happen, so like sometimes mommy or daddy or both of them don't really do what they should do, but for the most part, that's what your parent should do. And so OP feels like a parent to her boyfriend because she pretty much is. And that is not really desirable in a relationship. I feel like most people would be turned off by that. And while I think that the boyfriend is wrong for doing this and behaving like this, I think a possible reason that why he is the way he is isn't because like he's malicious or anything. I think this could have been caused because he was raised being babied by his mom, or if he grew up in a family with a lot of older sisters and they babied him while he was growing up. So when he went into a relationship, he expected the same thing for his partner to do for him. I'm not sure if that's exactly what happened, but I think that's a possibility of why he's like that. Not that he's just like a jerk and unloving and like malicious in the relationship. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the original post. Commenter 1 says, "What could you possibly love about him? His attentiveness? Get a dog. He's affectionate? Get a dog. He made you feel wanted? Get a dog. You are his girlfriend, not his mother, not his helpmate, nothing but his girlfriend. He should be showing you how responsible he is in order for you to feel safe, valued, and respected. He's doing the complete opposite. Again, I ask, what do you love about him? Your post doesn't describe how he treats you other than as his concierge." OP says, "I actually do have a dog, lol, but I understand the point you're making. I think my post came across like I was only describing what he does for me, when, really, I was trying to explain the specific issue I was struggling with. The reality is, I realized this dynamic isn't something I want in a relationship. I don't want to be someone's reminder system, manager, or the person responsible for keeping their life together. I can support a partner, but I can't carry responsibilities that belong to them. I do care about him, but caring about someone doesn't mean staying in a situation that isn't healthy for me. After thinking about it, I am choosing to end the relationship because I don't want to continue feeling like I am in a caretaker role instead of an equal partnership. I appreciate the perspective because it helped me look at the situation more clearly." Commenter 2 says, "He can do it. This is manipulation to make you do it because he doesn't want to. He won't know how to do laundry, change the bedsheets, or change a diaper if you get married and have kids. He is not confused. He knows what he is doing. Now he is using anger and guilt to get you to continue. Dating is to see if you are compatible. You found out fairly quickly that you weren't compatible, but he was so lovely when you started, so now you are working to get that back. This is another tactic of manipulation. Be perfect at the beginning, and the other partner will always clamor to get that perfect relationship back. So now you know at 6 months that you definitely are not compatible, but will you leave? This is the hard part because you still want this perfect beginning relationship back, but it will never come back. Or perhaps it will for a few days to get you to think it's back, but what you are seeing here is the real relationship, the forever relationship." OP says, "I think this comment really helped me put things into perspective. I spent a lot of time trying to separate he's a good person whom I care about from is this relationship dynamic actually healthy for me? And I'm realizing those are two different things. I don't want to assume every mistake or struggle is intentional manipulation, but I also can't ignore how the situation has made me feel. I shouldn't have to repeatedly ask, remind, or take on the responsibility of managing another adult's life, especially when it's starting to impact how I see my partner. The hardest part has been accepting that the person I loved at the beginning and the relationship I hoped we were building may not be the reality of what this has become. I kept holding on to the good moments and hoping things would go back to how they were, but I'm realizing I have to look at the relationship as it is now, not just the potential of what it could be. After reflecting on everything, I have decided to end the relationship. It's painful because I do care about him, but I also know I need a partnership where both people are equally responsible for themselves and their lives." Update 3 days later. I honestly didn't think I would be writing this update. When I made my original post, I was sitting there questioning myself. I was wondering if I was being selfish, if I was expecting too much, if I was a bad girlfriend for feeling exhausted by constantly being the person who kept everything together. A part of me wanted Reddit to tell me I was wrong because admitting the truth meant I had to accept something I didn't want to accept. I wasn't just frustrated, I was unhappy. After reading through the comments, I decided to show my boyfriend the post. I want to be clear that I didn't do this to embarrass him or have thousands of people attack him. I showed him because I was desperate for him to understand that this wasn't coming from a place of anger. I loved him. I wanted us to work. I wanted him to understand that I wasn't saying, "You're a terrible person." I was saying, "I'm drowning and I need you to notice." Instead, the second he saw the comments, everything changed. He immediately became angry. He said I was humiliating him, that I was painting him as the bad guy, and that I had betrayed him by letting strangers know about our relationship. He kept saying things like, "So this is what you really think of me?" And "You've just been secretly resenting me this whole time?" I tried explaining that I wasn't hiding some horrible opinion of him. I was trying to explain a feeling I had been too scared to say out loud because I knew he would react this way. He didn't ask me why I felt this way. He didn't ask what he could do differently. He didn't say, "I'm sorry you've been feeling alone." He was focused on how hurt he was that I said it. And that was the moment something in me broke. Because I realized that even when I was the one hurting, I was still expected to take care of his emotions. I was crying. I was telling him how overwhelmed I felt. I was telling him I felt like I was losing myself. And somehow, I ended up apologizing. I ended up comforting him. I ended up reassuring him that he wasn't a bad person. Again. After the argument, I sat there thinking, when did my feelings become something I had to apologize for? That's when I knew I couldn't keep doing this. I broke up with him. And I need people to understand that this was not an easy decision. I didn't leave because he forgot an appointment. I didn't leave because he needed help. I didn't leave because he was struggling. I left because I realized I had slowly become a caretaker in a relationship where I was supposed to be a partner. The part that has been the hardest to admit is what I learned afterward about how his life was managed before me. I had always assumed he was just going through a difficult time. I thought he was overwhelmed because life had gotten hard and he needed someone in his corner. But after talking more with people close to him, I realized this was not a new situation. His mom had been doing a lot of these things for him for years. I knew it. She was the person who reminded him about appointments, helped him stay organized, reminded him about responsibilities, and stepped in when things went wrong. She handled things that most adults eventually learn to manage themselves. And honestly, I think that's why this dynamic felt so natural to him. I don't think he was intentionally trying to make me his mom. I think he was used to someone else filling that role. When I came into his life, I unknowingly stepped into the space she had occupied for years. I became the person who reminded him, planned for him, worried about things for him, and helped prevent consequences. The scary part is that I didn't even realize it was happening until I was already exhausted. I remember thinking, if I stop reminding him, will everything fall apart? And that is not a normal feeling to have 6 months into a relationship. A lot of people asked in the comments why I stayed if I felt this way so early on. The answer is because I genuinely loved him. He wasn't some horrible person all the time. He was sweet. He was affectionate. He made me feel loved in so many ways. That's what made leaving so painful. I wasn't leaving because there was no love. I was leaving because love alone wasn't enough. I needed a partner, not someone I had to parent. The hardest part is that I still care about him. I still hope he grows. I still hope he learns how to take ownership of his life and becomes the person I know he can be. But I also realized something important. Someone can be a good person and still not be ready to be a good partner. I spent months proving that I would stand by him no matter what, but I never stopped to ask if he was willing to stand beside me. The weird thing is, as heartbreaking as this has been, I also feel a sense of relief that I didn't expect. For the first time in months, I don't feel like I'm constantly waiting for the next thing to go wrong. I don't feel like I have to keep track of someone else's responsibilities while trying to manage my own life. I don't feel like I'm carrying the weight of 2 people anymore. I have so much more clarity now. Looking back, I can see all the little moments where I was slowly taking on more and more responsibility, convincing myself that it was just what love looked like. I thought being a supportive girlfriend meant always stepping in, always fixing, always reminding, always understanding. But I learned that there is a difference between supporting someone and carrying them. And even though breaking up with him hurt more than I can explain, there is a part of me that feels lighter, like I can finally breathe again. I can miss him and still know I made the right choice. I can love him and still choose myself. So, for everyone who commented that I wasn't his girlfriend anymore and that I was his life manager, you were right. I wasn't asking for perfection. I wasn't asking him to never struggle. I was asking him to carry his own weight. I finally accepted that I cannot love someone into becoming responsible. I can only decide what kind of relationship I'm willing to stay in. Scaling Stories Corner. Yo, I'm not even capping. I knew it was that the boyfriend was raised this way either by his mom or his sisters because I had just heard of a similar relationship breaking up in real life to someone I know that happened just like this, but it wasn't the mom doing the babying, and the duration of the relationship was different, but it was pretty much like spot on with this post. If the details were changed to match, I would fully believe that that person wrote this. But it's completely true that OP's boyfriend could be a good person or friend, but a bad partner and not fit for a relationship. I think he needs to work on himself or find someone who enjoys being that motherly figure in a relationship. Because him, the way he is now, is not compatible with OP, and it's good that they're breaking up and that OP can finally focus on herself and her future. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the update post. Commenter 1 says, "It hurts now. It'll hurt for a while. You're grieving the loss of your relationship and the loss of the man you thought existed. The man you perceived your ex to be is dead. He was killed by the actions/choices of the man who exists in your perception now. That's effing rough. But you're gonna make it out the other side and realize all that crap was just fertilizer for the new growth as a person you're gonna experience. I'm so sorry you're hurting, but I'm very glad you're free of the burden that he thrust upon you." OP says, "Thank you for this. This honestly put into words something I've been struggling to explain. I think the hardest part has been grieving the person I thought I knew and the future I thought we were building. It's such a strange feeling to miss someone while also knowing that the version of them you loved isn't the person you're seeing now. It does hurt, and I know healing won't happen overnight, but I also feel a lot of clarity and relief that I didn't have before. As painful as this has been, I can finally breathe, knowing I'm not carrying the weight of trying to fix everything alone anymore. I'm trying to remind myself that losing this relationship doesn't mean I lost my future. It just means I'm making room for one that's healthier for me. Thank you for the reminder that this pain is part of growth. I really needed to hear that." Commenter 2 says, "Good for you. Just wondering, how did he react?" OP says, "To the breakup? When I said I can't do this anymore and that I wanted to break up, he immediately flipped the switch and started crying and coming to me for comfort, begging me not to end things. He kept saying things like, 'I can change and make things better.' But I told him it was too late." Okay, friends, so that concludes our first story of the day. Next up, we have a story from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. It was posted by throwaway5423121244 on June 30th, 2022, and was titled, "Am I the jerk for banning my sister from ever seeing my daughter again?" I, 36 male, got married 12 years ago, and my wife and I had a daughter, Rebecca, 10 female. My sister, Lindsay, never really liked my wife, and I had to put some strong boundaries in place. It was not a good time, and Lindsay really hated my wife more since she said I was choosing my wife over family. Well, 2 months ago, my wife's father got really sick, and after a long talk, we decided that she would go take care of him until he passed away. That's the last of her family. We thought he would move in with us, but he wanted to go at his home. So my wife packed her stuff and flew across the country to him and is his full-time caretaker. He probably has a month or 2 more. When Lindsay heard about this, she made a comment at dinner, when Rebecca was at the table, that my wife had abandoned her. This was the last straw, and I went no contact with her. Rebecca really loves her aunt though, and it's been hard. Rebecca wants to hang out with her aunt, and I have refused to let her. I work from home, and yesterday, around lunchtime, I couldn't find her. There was a note in her room saying she went to have lunch with Lindsay. I was furious and tracked Rebecca's phone, the first time that had ever happened, and they were at a restaurant. I got there as fast as possible and grabbed my kid. I told Lindsay she would never see my daughter again. This started an argument, and I literally walked out halfway through. Rebecca, the whole time, was crying, and I asked for her phone. She gave it, and I deleted her aunt's contact information and told her, "You will never be talking to her again as long as you're a minor." She was crying even more. I told my wife, and she thinks I did the right thing and has been on the phone with Rebecca a lot since it happened. I've been fending off calls from all of my family calling me a jerk. I need an honest opinion since Rebecca and my family sure think I am awful. ScalingStories Corner. So first off, Lindsay hating OP's wife because OP said he was choosing her over his family is just like, I'm speechless. Because of course OP is going to choose his wife over the family he grew up with, since his wife is now his family too. And of course, like the family that he grew up with is still his family, but his wife and his daughter are now his top priority, as it should be. Secondly, I'd be going no contact with Lindsay too, because that was straight up hateful. OP's wife is taking care of her dying father at the end of his life, and you still have the nerve to tell his daughter that her mom abandoned her? There was literally no one left in her family to take care of him. And I'm sure the mom, or not like 100% sure because it wasn't written by OP, but surely the mom and daughter were talking on the phone sometimes. And of course, that's not the ideal situation, and Rebecca would want to see and talk to her mom more in person, but the situation is what it is. Like, no one wants this situation to be happening. Her dad he's at the end of his life. Lindsay is straight up malicious to try and make Rebecca feel unwanted by her mother. And even if Rebecca likes Lindsay as a person, I personally cannot allow my children to be interacting with someone who is so malicious. If I let them have future contact, she's just going to continue slowly poisoning the connection between my wife and my daughter. And the rest of the family can screw off, because if they disagree with me, they can get put on the no contact list too. If Rebecca grows up hating me for not letting her have contact with Lindsay, then that's okay, that's just it. I can try my best to explain that Lindsay wasn't nice to mommy and how she's a terrible person to mommy, even though she's nice to her, like she's nice to Rebecca, we have to support mommy. And, if she grows up, turns 18 and goes no contact with me, I guess I'm just unlucky. That really sucks. And I really hope that doesn't happen. Now, here are some of the top/relevant comments from the original post. Commenter 1 says, Info, why does your daughter love Lindsay so much if Lindsay is so disrespectful and hateful to her mother? Not the jerk, but I think you need to have discussions where you listen with Rebecca. OP says, Lindsay loves to spoil Rebecca, and usually the comments are not heard by Rebecca. The main target is my wife, and since she is not here and Lindsay knows I won't put up with it, the target moved to Rebecca. Commenter 2 says, Info, you're absolutely not the jerk, but does your daughter know why she can't see her aunt? If not, I think a kid-friendly discussion needs to happen ASAP. OP says, I have explained it to her, and so has her mom. She is still very sad. She is also having a hard time understanding why going out to lunch with her aunt was a bad thing since Lindsay would take her out to eat before. It is a mess. Commenter 3 says, Info, did your sister take your daughter to lunch across a state line? If so, the FBI might want to talk to your sister about child trafficking. You have a very specific set of skills to get your daughter back so fast. Your sister should be glad you're not Liam Neeson. OP says, No, it was a 20-minute drive to a Red Robin. We live in the middle of the state. When I noticed she was gone, I used Find My iPhone, and it brought me right to her. Commenter 4 says, Info, how did your sister take your 10-year-old daughter out of the house without you being aware? I'm not trying to attack, but I'm honestly trying to figure it out. OP says, I have an office, and it's summer. Rebecca's schedule, when she doesn't do clubs, is to wake around 10, watch TV, and have a bowl of cereal. At 12, I come out of the office and make lunch. She has never left the house without permission before. At most, she will go to the backyard, and she usually asks. Since she likes to play in the backyard, my office is toward the back of the house, where I can see the backyard. So, I watch her through the office window. She is old enough that we don't have to watch her 24/7, and she is learning to be independent, so she gets herself ready for events. So, yesterday, she woke up, got ready, and left out the front. I went to make lunch at 12, and she was gone. Lindsay never set foot in this house. Update 2 weeks later. So, it has been like 2.5 weeks since all this happened. Thank you to everyone who responded. So, after this whole mess, my daughter and I traveled to where my wife and her dad are. We are all going to stay there until her dad passes away, and I have a feeling it will be soon. He is not doing well. Rebecca is still kinda upset that she won't see her aunt again, but having her mom around really helps. My wife and I discussed it for a long time, and we decided to make a paper trail about what happened. So all that happened is now on record. My family kept blowing up my phone for a bit until I told them she is lucky I didn't call the cops. They got quiet for a bit and, according to my cameras, showed up at my place. It took them a while to figure out we left to be with my wife. Now, Lindsay, yesterday, it must have sunk in that I wasn't joking, and she called so many times that I gave in to see what she had to say. It was a long apology on her end, and she asked if she could see Rebecca. I told her no and that she needs to stay away because she crossed a huge boundary. She asked if she could talk to my wife. I put her on speaker. Lindsay then apologized to my wife about what she did. My wife was quite brutal and basically said that if she really meant it, then she should stay away from them. At the moment, Lindsay won't be seeing my daughter again for a bit. If she does stay away, then maybe she will see us at Thanksgiving and Christmas. If she doesn't behave, then she probably won't see my kid until she is 18. Again, thank you to everyone for the good advice. Scaling Stories Corner. OP never made another update, and his post was from 2022, so Rebecca would be around 13 right now. If Lindsay truly got better with her behavior, then maybe she saw Rebecca a couple of times since OP's last post. And if not, then she still has 5 more years until she has the chance to see and speak to Rebecca again. Honestly, I would be like OP and not be so quick to forgive her either. It's clear that it's a desperation act, and she and the rest of the family didn't respect OP and his wife previously. And I would have honestly also pushed for the rest of the family to also apologize for their relentless harassment when Lindsay was clearly in the wrong. They feel so entitled to OP and his family that they showed up on their doorstep in person to probably try and force their way, but he and his family were at his wife's dad's house. And that's pretty unacceptable behavior and entitlement in my box. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the update post. Commenter 1 says, I really think you need to explain to Rebecca why she can't see her aunt. Explain the sequence of events and constant abuse toward her mother. If you don't, she will only get her aunt's version and will likely keep seeing her once she turns 18. OP says, we did explain it to her. She knows in child-friendly terms. A lot of what she did is not suited to be heard by a young kid. There's a lot of bad blood/other stuff. She knows the basics, especially what happened in the post. When she is older, we will explain in more detail. She is having trouble because Lindsay was a huge part of her life, and she lost her. She still misses her and is dealing with the fact that Lindsay wasn't a good person to mom/me, but she was good to her. Since she was good to me, why can't she be around me? Commenter 2 says, does your sister have kids? She seems overly attached to your child. OP says, no, she doesn't. She actually wants to be child-free. She's fantastic with kids in small amounts, like a day trip. She gets to be the fun aunt who spoils the kid. Commenter 3 says, good job for standing up for your wife like that and joining her while she is going through this difficult time. I know it is hard for your daughter to understand, but her aunt literally kidnapped her, and she doesn't deserve to hear such things about her mom abandoning her. In time, I am sure she will understand better. Thank you for the update. Okay friends, so that concludes today's video. Leave a like and comment down below to let me know what you thought of it, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.